Good morning, everybody. We're live from the birdhouse, and today we'll give you an update on the different birds people are seeing in the area. And we'll share some of your photos that have come in over the past week. So we've got some fun stuff to share. As always, if you are on, you can say hi, or if you have any questions, you can throw those in the comments. And if you have any sightings, you can put those in there too. We love to see, to know what kind of things you're seeing out there in your yard or when you're out birding or hiking. So you can throw those in the comments as well. So we will get started here. We do actually have a bird walk coming up in a couple of weeks on February 18th. So you can mark your calendars for that. We do this every year with the Genesee Valley Audubon Society. We do their Valentine's Day walk in the woods is what they always call it. And it's a walk of birdsong trail. So it's great for everybody, all ages, especially kids. There's usually a good amount of kids that show up, and we walk down Birdsong Trail, and that's where you can feed the chickadees and nuthatches right out of your hands. So we've got that coming up in 2 weeks from now on the 18th. So hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer than it is today here in upstate New York. It's very, very chilly. So that's coming up on the 18th, and that'll be for a couple hours in the morning there. So as far as your sightings here, and let me take off this here so you can see it better. So snow geese sightings are starting to come in, which is pretty exciting. You're probably super familiar with the Canada goose, but in our area, we do experience a really big snow goose migration. So we've got a couple of photos of snow geese that have come in. This picture right here was sent in by Karen, who says, excited to see an entire field of snow geese in East Bloomfield today. So she sent in this awesome photo, and you can see that that's not just snow in the background. Those are actually snow geese back there. You can see kind of like their little heads and their bill sticking out. So really cool photo there, sent in by Karen. And then also another picture of snow geese sent in by Bob, who says, not a great shot. It's from January 22nd. It appears to be a flock of snow geese. I remember seeing the flock, and it didn't look like Canadian geese, so I tried to manage a few shots from inside the house. And yeah, in fact, they are snow geese. You can see that they're white, and they've got those black tips on their wings. So really cool photo there, sent in by Bob. And coming up usually later on in this month, sometimes it's early March, is the huge snow goose migration through Montezuma. So while you can't go through the wildlife drive right now, it is closed for the winter. All around the complex, in different spots, you can see this snow goose migration where there's hundreds of thousands of snow geese that pass through. So we'll keep you up to date about when that is coming. It's never on a specific day, but once it starts happening, we will let you know, and we'll keep you informed about that. So here's a photo from the Democrat and Chronicle of just a huge mass of snow geese that come through the area. So really, really cool. So that's usually later on this month. So that is something to look forward to. So it's kind of some early migration. They're going up to the Arctic, and that's where they breed. So they'll pass through this area. On some more pictures that were sent in over the past week, Mark sent in a whole bunch of photos. He says, this was at my feeders the past Wednesday on the snowy day. So he has a bunch of photos here that he sent in, including this northern flicker, a great picture there of the northern flicker, and people have been reporting them coming to their feeders. So here's northern flicker. Quite a few of you are probably getting them now at your suet feeders. If you're keeping those suet feeders nice and full, be on the lookout for northern flicker. They're about the same size as your red-bellied woodpecker, but you can see they've got that little mustache looking stripe there on their face, and then they've got the polka dots that go all over their chest there. So that was the northern flicker. And then here's a red-breasted nuthatch, which also people are reporting, both red-breasted nuthatch and white-breasted nuthatch. So again, coming to suet feeders, if you have a peanut feeder or anything with sunflower seed or sunflower hearts, watch out for these red-breasted nuthatch, which tend to be more common in the winter months than they are in the spring and summer. Here's a goldfinch in its winter plumage, another photo sent in by Mark. And mourning doves. I know I've been getting a lot of mourning doves in my yard as well. So here's a great photo of a mourning dove there, sent in by Mark. Tufted titmouse, as well as a chickadee. Woodpecker right there, clinging onto the side of a tree. And we were talking about woodpeckers. Was it Tuesday or maybe even last Saturday? Talking about how they have specialized feet that are made for clinging, and you can see in this picture here, you can see just how they can cling to any kind of surface there with those specialized feet. So neat photo there. And then, of course, cardinals, and the cardinals are starting to sing a little bit. You might start to hear them sing more and more as we get closer into the spring. They'll start to kind of practice their songs as they get ready to start looking for mates. So right now they're not pairing up so much. They're still seen in some pretty big groups, but as we get closer to the spring months, they'll start to pair off as well. So you won't see necessarily a big group of males like you might see right now. They start to get more territorial as we go on into the season. Not so much a backyard bird, but here is another photo sent in by Mark, who says, great black-backed gull getting chased by the herring gull. Quite the difference in the wing spread. So you can see the size difference there of the great black-backed gull and the herring gull. And here's another photo there of the great black-backed gull, which if you're by the water this time of the year, be on the lookout for them. They're pretty cool. They're much, much bigger than the other gulls, like the ring-billed gull here. To the left, you can see there's a significant size difference there between the two of those. So that is a great black-backed gull. Some more winter birds. These were taken at Tinker Nature Park. This is a cute photo here of a dark-eyed junco. So those you can find under your feeders right now. They tend to feed on the ground, so you probably won't see them on your feeders themselves, but look underneath as they clean up any kind of food that is spilled out of your bird feeders. Here is another tufted titmouse and European starlings. I have a ton of these in my backyard. This was taken at Tinker Nature Park. And then red-bellied woodpecker. So lots of birds still out there, even though it is quite chilly. And then this is a great photo from Gina, who says, a male cardinal that was perched in my backyard with the afternoon sun bringing out its best. So that was sent in by Gina. People are also reporting brown-headed cowbirds. So while they are more common in migration season and when it's warmer here in the spring and in the summer, people are reporting them coming to their feeders. So if you see something that looks a little bit different, could very well be brown-headed cowbird, like this photo here sent in by Richard, who had 4 of them. Eastern bluebirds. So eastern bluebirds are a species that are here in the winter times sometimes. They're like robins. Some of them migrate, some of them don't. Some of them just go a little bit further south. But this photo was just sent in by Bob. It's an eastern bluebird here. And then here's a group. Here's a group of 3. It looks like 2 males and then a female there in the middle. And then these photos were from last year around this time. This was sent in by Chris, who says, I've never had bluebirds every day at my feeders in the winter before, but they absolutely love the Mr. Bird Bugs, Nuts, and Fruit Wild Bird Seed Cylinder, which has been really popular with the bluebirds. So if you are getting bluebirds or if you're trying to get bluebirds, this seed cylinder called Bugs, Nuts, and Fruit is really, really popular with them. So other things will eat it as well, like wrens really like it, and just about any kind of bird that'll come to a bird feeder, there's something in there for them. So there's peanuts in there, there's mealworms, there's sunflower hearts. So that will really get you the main cast of characters, if you will, as far as birds that'll come to your backyard. And this is from last year. If you've got a heated bird bath out, that's another way that you can attract bluebirds. This was sent in by Bob, who had said, gossiping at the water cooler, finally caught all 6 bluebirds drinking at the same time. Truly amazing how often it is used. So people do tend to get bluebirds coming to their heated bird baths in the wintertime if you have them around, which they can be hit or miss. They do like wide open habitat, like open fields. So if you've got a lot of trees around, or if you're in, just kind of your usual suburban neighborhood, you might not get the bluebirds, and that's pretty common. But other birds will come to heated bird baths as well, like goldfinch. Carolina wrens, people are reporting, this is a photo from last year around this time as well, of some Carolina wrens that was sent in by Bob. And they're definitely around in the winter months, and they're singing too. You can hear them. They can be quite chatty this time of the year. So if you hear something that is singing and singing and singing in succession, it could very well be a Carolina wren. They are quite chatty. As far as putting things out to attract the best diversity of birds, you want to make sure you've got something out there that has sunflower seed in it or sunflower seed mix. This is what's called a hopper feeder. So it's a feeder where the top lifts up and it can hold a bunch of seed. It has suet on the side of it. So something like this is great not only for the small birds like the finches that are on it in this photo, but you can get larger birds like cardinals that need that larger perching room, that bigger perching room. So something with sunflower seed is clutch. If you're looking for something squirrel proof, you can't go wrong with these Squirrel Buster Plus bird feeders. They're weight sensitive, so if a squirrel gets on it, the ring here shuts down, which shuts down the little ports there, so the squirrels can't get to the seed, but all the birds can. And this has a nice large perch on it as well for larger birds like cardinals, who are there in that photo. And then we've got non-squirrel proof feeders as well. If you've got a setup that has a baffle on it or it's some kind of way that the squirrels can't get to it, you can put any kind of bird feeder out on that then. And this is one that's really popular called the Big Tube because it has the big perches again and it holds a lot of seed. So that's a really, really good one. Definitely want to keep Niger out because goldfinches will come all winter long. This is a picture of goldfinches in their winter plumage. So they are here all winter long. And you never know, you might be lucky enough to get pine siskin or redpoll. They haven't been super common this year in backyards or in the area that seems like they're still hanging out further north. But you never know. There have been some spotted around and they do come to Niger feeders. So definitely want to keep Niger feeders out. If you're having issues with moisture getting into the feeder, or like this past week when we've been getting snow, if you've got snow that's piling up on the feeders or it's getting into the feeder, you can always put a weather guard up. This is a weather guard that will sit right on top of a tube feeder, but we have a whole bunch of different types. So if you want some kind of cover for your feeders, that can help keep them free from snow and that kind of a thing. So it makes them easier to fill so they don't get all frozen shut and that kind of a thing. So we do have weather guards. Peanuts. If you have the same kind of birds like I do in the backyard, like these blue jays, you'll know that they absolutely love peanuts. You can put out what are called peanut pickouts. That's what's in this feeder right here. You can see there's kind of a mesh there on this side, and the birds will just pull the peanuts right out from the side. You can also feed peanuts in the shell, which the blue jays absolutely love. But these little peanut pickouts are not only good for blue jays, but the chickadees love them, nuthatches, the tufted titmouse. We saw some pictures of them earlier. And of course, woodpeckers, they all love those peanuts. And suet, of course, suet. The suet is important for the birds in the winter because it provides them with the fat that they need, those calories, in order to build up fat and keep them nice and warm, especially on days like this where it's super, super cold. Having some suet out there can really give the birds a leg up and can just help them survive a little bit better in the winter. So we've got all kinds of different suet here in the store, all kinds of flavors, if you will. Anything with peanuts in it is always great. And if you've got squirrel issues, you can put out the hot pepper suet that the squirrels will not eat. So. And then I was showing you earlier, there's that bugs, nuts, and fruits log that Chris had sent the photo in of those bluebirds eating on it. This is a seed log feeder. This is just our best seller, really. I've got two of these in the backyard. I like it because it comes with a hook on the bottom, so you can hook something onto the bottom of it as well. So I've got two stacked on top of each other. But these are seed logs that the birds will peck away at, so they last longer than your typical just loose bird seed that you would put into, say, a tube feeder or one of those hopper feeders. The birds tend to just grab those seeds and kind of fly away. Here, they have to work for it a little bit more, so they'll peck away at the seeds. They last longer. So whereas I have to fill my other feeders, say, every day or every other day, these will last for more like a week or so. So, and they come in different sizes, and they also come in a hot pepper flavor, if you will, as well, if you've got squirrel issues. So, oh, and here's that bugs, nuts, and fruit style. This is one of our best sellers because it does have really something for everybody in it, including this little guy. Here's the Carolina wren again. And then so if you are feeding birds in the winter, you might notice that not only are you getting songbirds, but you are getting birds of prey. So there's birds of prey coming to backyards, but you also might see some different ones if you're going out birding, if you're out by any field, say looking for those snow geese, like Karen had that photo of the snow geese, or if you're looking for, say, short-eared owl, you might be out by some open fields and see birds like this. This is an American kestrel, so more common in the spring and summer, but they are around this time of the year as well. So look out for American kestrel, small little falcon, or merlin. I've been seeing some merlin out there. They're almost a little bit stockier, I would say, than the kestrel, but they're super, super similar in size and in shape. But they're not, the males aren't as colorful, and they don't have that bold striking on their face like the kestrel does. But both kestrel and merlin are definitely out in the area. And then there are those birds of prey that you will find in your backyard, like this Cooper's hawk photo that was sent in by Mark. And that's really going to be the most common one you'll see in your backyard, the Cooper's hawk. Both Cooper's hawks and sharp-shinned hawks are common in backyards, especially right now, because they do eat smaller songbirds. And so if you've got feeders out, that is some easy food for them. So don't be surprised if you happen to see some birds of prey in your yard. This is a Cooper's hawk in its juvenile plumage. So it's brown with some streaking on it. In its non-breeding plumage, they look more like this. This is a sharp-shinned hawk, the smaller hawk. And they can be hard to tell the difference between the two because they look so similar. The sharp-shinned hawk will have kind of a smaller, rounded head. They have more of a straight tail, and they're just quite small. So if you see kind of like what I would describe as a strikingly small bird of prey in your backyard, it's probably a sharp-shinned hawk. So they're only about the size of a blue jay or so. They're really small. So here's your sharp-shinned hawk, and then here's your Cooper's hawk. So coloration is really similar, but their head is going to be more square, and they have more of a rounded tail. So if you look at its tail, it is rounded, and they're described as having what's called a fierce eye, where they just look mean, which is kind of, I don't know, it's not the best describing characteristic, but if you kind of look at the difference between the sharp-shinned hawk here and the Cooper's hawk, if you do look at them side by side, I guess the Cooper's hawk does look kind of a bit meaner. So Cooper's hawk and sharp-shinned hawks, super common right now in backyards, with the Cooper's hawk being the more common of the two. So you guys have had some different photos here. Here's another Cooper's hawk picture sent in by Sandy. This one has its tail totally flared out. You can see those rounded tail feathers there pretty well. Other birds of prey that are out there right now too are our red-tailed hawk, our resident red-tailed hawks that are here all year round. So be on the lookout for them if you're driving down the expressway and you see some birds perched on the lights, the light poles. Most of the time it's going to be your red-tailed hawk. So sometimes their tail isn't as bright red as this photo would show, so they can look kind of variable, but most of the time it's going to be the red-tailed hawk. So this is it in flight, and they do have this kind of striped belly band there to identify them. And another bird of prey that you might see right now is called a rough-legged hawk, and here's a photo of them. They're about the same size as the red-tailed hawk, but you'll notice there's no red tail, and they have these dark markings here on the underside of their wings, which the red-tailed hawks don't have. And most of them have this really dark patch on their stomach, on their breast as well. But that can be variable too. They can look kind of variable. But here's a photo of one perched also. So this is a hawk that's from further north, and they are south here this time of the year. This is south for them. So be on the lookout for them. They're called rough-legged hawks, and they're called rough-legged hawks because they have feathers that go all the way down their feet. So their legs, instead of just being bare, they have feathered legs because they do go so far north or up in the Arctic most of the time. So this is a rough-legged hawk. So be on the lookout for them as well. If you have any questions, you can throw those in the comments. It looks like there's some people on here that have some comments. Bob, who had the photos of the snow geese in flight and the bluebirds, says, had a fun sighting this morning, and it just might be a record for me. I had 15 cardinals feeding in my yard this morning. All but 2 or 3 were females. So definitely not pairing up yet. If Bob had 15 cardinals, most of them being male in his backyard, that's a lot. That's pretty cool. So be on the lookout for big groups of cardinals. Benny is on. He says, long time watcher, first time on live. I'm from Long Island, but planning a trip up your way next month. I plan on visiting the store. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, please do. We're open 7 days a week. So we would love to have you here. Bob also says, I can report the bluebirds still use the bird bath every day. Besides the goldfinches, they are the ones that most often use it in the winter. So Bob is still getting those bluebirds coming to his bird bath. So that's great. Lynn says, great pictures. Mary Lynn says, had a cardinal and several juncos. So Mary Lynn's not only seeing cardinals, but those little juncos, those little dark-eyed juncos at her feeders. So that's awesome. Some great sightings there. Looks like that's everybody's comments and questions for the day. We'll be back on Tuesday with another live stream. And until then, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.